Matters Commission hearings for October 7th, 2024. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or her representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or her designated representative. If, as the defendant in this case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, such as potentially dangerous, and vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Please call the first case.
If you are a participant in the Cooper versus Hinman case, please use the raise hand function this time. Okay, I have Laura here. Ms. Cooper, if you could please accept to be a panelist, so that way you could join with us, I would appreciate it. There we go. And then if you could turn your camera on as well. Perfect. If you both could unmute yourself, I'm going to swear you in both at the same time. Please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do. Yes.
Okay. And is it Copper or Cooper?
Copper.
Copper. I do apologize.
You okay?
If you could just please state your name and address for the record.
Zenobeth Copper, 8157 Santa Fe Drive in Severn, Maryland, 21144.
And then Ms. Hinman, can you state your full name and address for the record as well?
Yes, my name is Laura Henneman, and I live at 8113 Santa Fe Drive, Severn, Maryland, 21144.
Okay, then. It's over to you.
Okay, Ms. Henneman, you are the complainant in the case, so please tell us what brought you here today.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, to Ms. Copper and also to the panel members.
Morning.
I am a dog owner and mother to 3 small children, and I'm just here today in the interest of keeping my family and neighborhood safe. I first became aware of Miss Copper's dog when it rushed me, my leash dog, and my 8-year-old child when we were walking down our street, approximately 2 properties away from hers. The animal ran down the street at us. I was afraid and yelled for Miss Copper to call off her dog, which she did just before the animal got to us. This 100+ pound dog appears to be a Cane Corso or similar breed, and it was unleashed. After that first instance, which is not the complaint today, but I appreciate the chance to share history and to explain why I took the step of filing the affidavit of complaint. So after that first instance, I called animal control and complained and was informed that they would mail information on the county's leash law to Miss Copper's home. I thought that this would be sufficient. Miss Copper then began to walk her dog off leash throughout our residential neighborhood on a regular basis. I requested verbally that Ms. Copper put her dog on a leash, but she refused. At one point, she said he is and appeared to indicate an electronic collar, but I'm not certain. I called animal control again to find out my options, and I confirmed during this call with an animal welfare representative that an electronic collar is not sufficient for the Anne Arundel County leash law. Given these repeated incidences, I filed an affidavit of complaint against Ms. Copper for animal at large on Friday, August 2nd. I had this complaint notarized as the law requires and submitted with photographic evidence pictured on the screen here, the defendant walking with her dog across the street from my home without a leash. I did file 2 complaints for 2 days in a row, but I believe that they have been consolidated for the purpose of this hearing. This is a very large dog, as you can see in the photo, capable of doing bodily harm to people and pets. We no longer walk past the Copper's home for fear that it will not be sufficiently restrained. But this photo that you see on the screen shared with the commission is across the street from my home. And this is also 50 feet from a bus stop where a dozen elementary school children wait daily, including my own. I asked the commission that the defendant receive a citation so that she's made aware that these irresponsible actions are not permissible. And I also asked her as a neighbor just to keep her dog on a leash. That's all from me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Ms. Henneman, can you tell, and I didn't, if you said it, I apologize because I didn't hear it, but just the date. You
So
said there were 2 incidents?
Yes. And the photo taken, the 2 complaints were for August 1st and 2nd. And I'm not sure the materials that were given to you, like what date, because I think they consolidated the 2 complaints that I had notarized and submitted.
Okay, and what date was the photograph taken?
August 2nd. Let me see here. I can confirm that with metadata. On the photo itself. 1 second.
Okay, did any commission members have any other questions for Ms. Henneman? Okay,
So according to
Copper. I'm sorry.
No,
pardon,
I
according to the
apologize.
metadata on the photo, it is taken August 1st. I have another photo also on the 2nd, but the one on the 1st is better quality, so I submitted that one.
Anyway, we could see a blow up of that photograph.
Physical copy here. But I-
Autumn can put it back on the screen and enlarge it.
Would you please?
Give me 1 second.
Thank you. I see what I needed to see. Thank you.
Anything else for Ms. Henneman? Okay, I
no,
apologize.
thank you.
Ms. Copper,
Yes,
what would you
ma'am.
like to tell us?
Yes, ma'am. Smoke, the way she make it sound like Smoke is running amok. Smoke is not running amok. I do have electronic collar. It's called an e-collar for Smoke. And he was, as you see in that picture, Smoke is right beside me, under my control. And according to the leash law, as long as that dog on a leash or tethered, he was under my control. And as you see in that picture, Smoke walking right beside me. He wasn't 100 feet. I'm going to calm down because I'm emotional about my dog and that lie that she told. That he come charging after her and her kids. That's not true.
And he was not at large.
And he wasn't at large because I was right there beside Smoke. And here's the, if you don't know what electronic collar is, here's his electronic collar. This is what electronic collar looked like. And I always have control over Smoke. I've been living in this neighborhood for over 30 years. I'm a responsible animal person with my dogs. I've never been in your courtroom before. I've had a chocolate lab, he live here. I had a Rottweiler live here. And now I don't know how long this lady been living in the neighborhood, but y'all ain't never got a complaint about how my dogs are running a lodge. Never. Yeah, she right. There is at the bus stop. I walk my dog. I live at the end of the cul-de-sac. And most of the time, not most of the time, the neighborhood is a quiet neighborhood. When I walk Smoke, normally there's nobody out. She was sitting across the street. There was nobody on the street when I walked Smoke that day. Nobody on the street. Has anybody else come and complained about my dog? Because I have control over him. Did she take her dog to Dog Fest? Because I have control over my dog. That's why I took him. Where all these other dogs, all these people were, I took my dog to Dog Fest. Because I maintain control over him. Yeah, yes. And since I have received this notice, this notice says Zenabeth somebody. That's not me. I'm Zenabeth Copper. But I'm here. I want to settle this matter. I walk my dog with a leash and this e-collar. Now, that day that she took this picture, no, I didn't have the physical leash on him, but I had this electronic collar on him. Always, when he leaves his house, he's always on this electronic collar. And since I received that, I have put a leash on him.
Thank you, Ms. Copper.
And I
You
have
said since you
researched the Arundel County law. It says the word tethered, the animal should be tethered. It don't say visible or non-visible. It doesn't say that. It says to be under control. And that dog has been under control. And I do apologize to everyone. I'm a passionate person.
Hey, Jennifer. Yeah,
yes, I'm sorry. I wanted to grab the I need to grab my copy of the code real quick. Yes, Dr.
that's.
Himmer.
I was just looking at that myself, and I was wondering if Curran's on the line. Can he opine as to does the code address electronic leashes? Because I'm not seeing anywhere in the code where it addresses that, whether they're acceptable or not acceptable. And it says that it may be tethered. Doesn't say it has to be tethered. I mean, I think Ms. Copper's bringing up a good point.
I agree. However, we did have a case similar to this. I don't think it was at the last meeting, maybe the one before. And it was this commission's understanding at that point that leash meant a physical apparatus, that an electronic leash did not qualify. I don't recall off the top of my head the rationale that got us there. But I would definitely like to hear from Curran.
I guess my first question is I'm not sure where the tethering issue is coming from.
Jen, so the citation was for the animals running at large. So if we're looking at that section 12-4905 specifically, it says that a dog has to be on a leash. The only exception is if they're in a dog exercise area designated by Anne Arundel County as an off-leash dog park, or is undergoing supervised training. And it says that the dog has to be leashed with like an off physical leash.
But I
Because
believe
it goes
but
by
I
off
believe it
leash
also
and leash.
but I believe it also says in the code that the animal may be tethered with a leash or similar restraining device, but it should be at least 10 feet long. And I think that's the point that I think Miss Copper's making.
I believe
Oh, so-
tethering would apply to your own property, so
Yeah,
I
so
don't
tethering
know
is
how
under
that would relate to being to an at-large citation. I don't think we're here for a tethering citation. I think we're just here for an animal off the property, not leashed and under control of a responsible adult. And it's always been interpreted by animal care and control that that means the dog has to be leashed with a physical leash and be under the control of a responsible adult. So I'm not sure what e-leashes are exactly, but I don't believe that they would be contemplated under the definition of leashed as animal control has always interpreted this.
But he was under my control, as you even seen in the picture. Smoke was under my control. He wasn't. He was under the control of this electronic collar.
I think that's where the problems coming in, Curran, is that from the picture that I was shown that I saw, the animal seems to be under her control is what I'm seeing. The question I have is that dog leashed in the sense of the code? And the code is silent on whether or not e-leashes or e-collars are acceptable, notwithstanding what this commission has interpreted being leashed as in the past.
If I may interject real quick, is this something that we should be better when we deliberate amongst ourselves, or we should have everybody weighing in like the
Yeah, I
committee?
agree. This really is something, unless we have any additional questions for the parties in this matter, this really should be part of the closed deliberations.
Fair enough. My apologies.
No, that's fine. I think we all have the same questions, Dr. Hemmer. Ms. Henneman, Ms. Copper, do either of you have anything additional to add to your case? Not something you've already told us, but something additional.
I just want to say that I think that Miss Copper does, believe that she has control of the dog because of the e-collar, but I think that that's a false sense of security.
The false sense of security is that leash.
And
Ma'am,
It's the
Miss
leash
Copper,
is
Miss
false.
Copper, Miss Copper, I will have them mute you if you
I
can't control
apologize.
yourself. You will have your turn to speak, but you are not allowed to interrupt Miss Henneman. Miss Henneman, please continue.
and so, I'm not asking for anything to happen to the dog. I'm sure he's, a good dog. I'm sure she's a good neighbor. All I want is for her to use a physical leash that connects the animal to her so that I and everyone else can see that that dog is sufficiently restrained. That's the other issue with the e-collar is it looks like the dog is completely unrestrained, which then creates, an atmosphere of fear in the neighborhood. So like I said, I'm sure he's lovely. I'm sure she fully intends and believes that he's under control, but I don't think that it's sufficient for the purposes of the law, and it's not sufficient for my sense of safety and security that 100+ pound dog is sufficiently restrained when she walks past where my children live. That's all
Thank
for
you,
me.
Miss Henneman. Ms. Copper, I will give you a brief opportunity to respond to what Ms. Henneman just said, but I need you to remain calm and civil.
Yes.
Us.
Yes. I do apologize for interrupting. The e-collar is more reliable than a leash. I agree. I got a big dog. Smoke is big. And that's why I went out, when I got him, I went out and bought this e-collar. The e-collar is used by police departments, trainers that's training dogs, use the e-collar. It's more reliable than a leash. A leash with Smoke. If Smoke take off, I'm going down the road with him on the ground. But if I use this, if I use the e-collar, Smoker's stop in his right in his tracks. He'll stop. The e-collar is more reliable. Trust the leash? No, I don't trust the leash, but I'll use the leash because if y'all saying I gotta use the leash, I'll use the leash. But but nobody's gonna pay the hospital bill when that dog yanked my arm out. If he ever got out of control, the leash ain't gonna hold him, but this e-collar will stop him in his tracks. That's why I use the e-collar. And like I said, I do apologize to everyone. I'm a passionate person. And I don't feel I'm a responsible. Even in the dark, when I walk this dog 1 o'clock in the morning, I got a headlight on and I got my dog bags and I'm cleaning up behind him. I'm responsible.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't think anybody's questioning your being a responsible dog owner. I appreciate
because of this collar situation.
Thank you, Ms. Copper. Anything else from the commission? Jackie?
Thank you. And Ms. Copper, I want to thank you too for all the efforts that you have made with your dog. And he is quite lovely. But my question is, do you have, and I understand your rationale with the e-collar. I use one for training as well. But I'm wondering, do you have any objection or concerns about using both when you walk your dog in the neighborhood?
I have, since I received this, I use both. I bought him a new thing for that dog fest, a new vest with a matching leash. And yeah, I use both now. Yes, I do. I use both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unless anyone has any objection, I'm going to close the hearing for deliberations now.
Do I get back?
Right. You know, I kind of agree with Dr. Hemmer, and this issue has come up before. I think it seems kind of, reasonable to us because we hear these cases all the time that a leash is something physical. But while Ms. Copper was talking, I pulled up good old Merriam-Webster. I said, when all else fails, let's look at the definition. And the second definition on Merriam-Webster says that the first definition is for a leash is a line for leading or restraining an animal. But the second definition is simply something that restrains. And it's not specific. And while I understand our interpretation of the code, I think it's something the code, I think it's a problem because I think the average person ought to be able to look at the plain language in the code. And if you're not sure, look up a definition like I just did and get something definitive. And I didn't. So, I'll go around and hear from everybody else, but for consistency purposes, based on how we've treated other cases, the dog we saw in the photo was off leash, but I would be, so I agree that it would technically meet the definition of being at large, but I would be hard pressed to accompany any kind of fine along with it. I believe Ms. Copper is, as emotional as she was, is a responsible dog owner. And the fact that she's saying now she's using both types of leashes, I think speak volumes. So I will, at that point, turn it over to everyone else. Nicole, you've been nodding your head along for a while. What do you think?
Yeah, I just know that we've been through this before and we did rule that physical leash was the way that we were going to define a leash. We also said that we need the code to be updated. I assume no progress has been made there. And so here we are again. I agree with you, Jennifer, that she does seem like a passionate and reliable, responsible dog owner, and her dog does seem adorable, but that doesn't negate the fact that a dog of that size definitely could strike fear in other people. And while I don't believe that we should uphold a fine in this situation, I think that we should be on record to say that in her specific case, if another affidavit comes forward for her not using a physical leash, that we impose a fine at that point. But to give her the benefit of the doubt, and the fact that she does seem like since she had been getting the information, that she has now used a physical leash in addition to the electronic leash. I think that that's the way forward, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole. Jackie, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I tend to agree with Nicole. I think, though, if we go back and take a look at the two definitions, Jennifer, that you offered, and if we went back and looked at the picture, and if the dog had been on a leash, it's quite possible and probable that the dog and Ms. Copper would be in the same picture, looking the same, with the dog walking a little bit ahead of her. And so I tend to agree with Nicole that I personally don't consider to be the dog to be at large. He is with his owner. And he does have some type of a restraint on, and that's questionable under the law, I guess, until we get that straightened out. But she has remedied the situation. And so I think we should just uphold the citation, but not a fine, and use the citation as an educational tool.
Thank you. Dr. Hemmer?
Thank you. I pretty much agree with everybody. And the evidence that was presented, that dog does not appear to be running at large, as I understand the code and what I saw in that photograph. That dog, I agree with Jackie that dog appeared to be, well restrained and under control. And the remedy that's been proffered by the other commission members, I agree with. We should probably uphold the citation because the dog did not have a leash on it, as we as a commission have used the definition of a leash in the past. And until the code gets changed, I think it's important that we stay consistent with that. Even though Ms. Copper does bring up a good point, in your second definition, Jennifer, is a good point as well too. But I think that we probably should uphold the citation, but no fine, because it looks like Ms. Copper's actually trying to be a good citizen and a good neighbor.
Mr. Fuentes?
So I have nothing else to add. I completely agree with everyone. I wish the code would be more direct or clear, but I see that we are still figuring things out. So I would just say I agree with everyone, say that keep the citation, but not uphold the fee. And because I can see that both, at least the owner is trying to, Ms. Cooper is trying to do her best. So nothing else to add, but in agreement with everyone.
Thank you. Lieutenant Tillman?
Sorry, I had issues with my mute button. Looking at the county code, it's cut and dry, no leash on the dog. I say uphold it. And I do not believe a shot collar is an actual leash, nor is it controlled, because there's a whole lot of other factors in play, time and distance. And if the dog's angry enough, that shot collar doesn't mean anything because they can still go through it, because it doesn't physically paralyze the dog. It just causes pain. So, but in either event, uphold the citation.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion.
I make a motion that in the in the citation ending 038Z Zulu, that we uphold the citation in its entirety, but assess no fine.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Any opposed? No. That's unanimous. Thank you. Next case.
If you are a participant in the Bonnie versus Saidi case, please use the raise hand function, and I will promote you to panelist. And if you could unmute and turn on your cameras. All right. You could, Mr. Saidi, if you could unmute yourself so I could swear you in.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes. You please both raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, Miss Bonnie, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Natalie Bonney, 2 Ivy Lane, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060.
Mr. Saidi, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Maxwell Saidi, 13 Country Club Drive, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060.
I will turn it over to the chairman. Go ahead, Jen.
Yes. Mr. Sadie, am I saying that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sadie, what would you like to tell the commission about these citations?
It was August 27th, 2024, around 18-16 hours. I live on the corner of Country Club Drive and North Bend Terrace. Ivy kind of adjoins that. They're kind of faced on both sides of the street, so they're on the corner as well. As I was walking from Country Club, turned left onto North Bend Terrace. I was in front of 123 North Bend Terrace, which is the house directly behind mine. By the time I was probably to the corner of that house, I noticed a German Shepherd, pretty large in size. Looked like it was being hosed down or cleaned in the front yard. At the time I was walking my dog on leash, it was a light colored tan pit bull, approximately 14 years old. By the time we had got to the corner of the house, the dog started barking and charging towards my direction. At the time, I didn't know whether the dog was on a leash or not until it had reached the sidewalk and sprinted full force at us. The dog circled, continued to bark. It kind of ran into us as it was circling us. The lady started running towards us, yelling and screaming for her dog to come back. I had kind of give a warning as the dog started to get your dog. I don't want to get bit. I don't want my dog to get bit. After that, she had got probably about halfway across the street and the dog had returned back to the yard. We continued walking to try to get out of the area. That dog continued to bark aggressively off leash. The owner had never said anything to me, not apologized, and I checked anything, not even acknowledged anything had happened other than to yell at her dog to get back. During that time, there were two neighbors out at 121 North Bend Terrace out front. I didn't ask them for anything because my neighbor actually wound up having the video that I provided. You should be able to see it's in the left corner. That's 123 North Bend Terrace right there. You can see the dog circles us for a second or two. I try to get my dog out of the area to push him out of the way. He is a pit bull. He can bite, but he's a little bit older dog, so he doesn't really have much in him anymore. We continued on throughout the block. I had gone home at that time and I had notified animal control what had happened. Animal control did come out and I guess address her. They never came back to address me to figure out what had happened. It was only later the next day where I had went to animal control to find out what my options were, in which I filed 3 affidavits. Once I filed 3 affidavits, I also provided this video And on September 5th at 11:56 a.m., I received a text message who I'm assuming was from the owner of the dog. The text stated, "I hope you realize all 3 citations you filed are false claims. My dog didn't even touch you or your dog. She slipped out of her collar, walked over to you, barked with her tail wagging, and came back to her yard. She is the friendliest dog. The entire thing was on video, and there were witnesses who will ensure the county knows you made false claims. See you in court, ... Here's a picture of the text message. Autumn should have a copy as well. I consider that to be either harassment or she was trying to intimidate me, but you know, it is what it is. I had the video proof, so I didn't really feel a need to respond back to that. It didn't really seem like she even acknowledged what had happened was wrong. And usually I have my family, which is a small child with me. So I wouldn't want that to happen and be mistaken as, you know, quote unquote friendly encounter, which I did not receive that as friendly. I didn't even notice at the time whether or not the dog was on a leash. It happened so fast. So how she was able to see all that from approximately 85 feet away from when I Google searched it, doing a measuring check, how she could see that. Additionally, they have a fenced in yard that they chose to wash the dog in the front yard in the non-fenced area for some reason. So I feel like I'm pretty justified with what I had asked for. I just want people to be responsible and never had an interaction with that dog the way it was coming. There was no way I could have known whether that was a friendly interaction or an aggressive interaction. So I just want everyone to be accountable for their dog like I was, walking on a leash, minding their own business. And, you know, unfortunately, the fact she doesn't see that as an issue, I no longer can walk my dog around my own block that I live on because people don't seem to have to be responsible for themselves. And that's a shame. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I sure am muted. Thank you, Mr. Sadie. Miss Bonnie,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good.
What would you like to tell us, ma'am?
I'm Natalie. I have 3 very young boys. I'm an emergency nurse for an emergency vet, and I have also 10 plus years of animal behavior and training. I've had Kona since she was 12 weeks old. She has been trained from the day she was here. She recalls. She is not aggressive. She goes to work with me as a trainer. She literally will lay there. You can put a catheter in her. You can draw blood on her. She can play with any dog, cat, animal, kid, person. The one instance that he is referring to, I was in the front yard. Our back hose is broken, which is why I chose to use the front yard. She was on her collar, which I was holding, but unfortunately with, you know, water and a dog, she saw the dog thinking that it was somebody she had known because she interacts with every one of my neighbors and their dogs. The neighbor directly across the street, which is which house she ran towards, and the house to the left, she interacts with them pretty much all the time, like whenever they're out. So she gets excited. She is a large dog. She does bark. She's a shepherd. It's a trait. When she ran, she did walk. She ran up to him. She barked. She circled him. She never physically touched him. I yelled her name. She came back. She's trained in German, so I told her Platz. She laid in the yard and she barked, but she wasn't aggressive. She is not aggressive. Has never been aggressive. Any other time she's on leash, my 2-year-old can walk her and have 0 issues.
Oh, sorry, just for clarification, it's a shepherd. Okay, I thought I heard it was a light tan pit bull, or maybe that was Mr. Sadie's dog. That was the dog you were walking?
Correct.
That was
That's
my dog.
his.
My dog's a tan dog.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I've never had any issues with her. She's because I work with shepherds and aggressive breeds, where I get bit on a daily basis, and the last thing I usually see is animals dying in my arms from dog fights. I have been responsible from the day I've gotten her and trained her to be the non-stereotypical German shepherd because I deal with that on a daily basis. I'm not irresponsible, as he's saying.
Not in the road. Up on the sidewalk.
Mama, that walk is special for you.
Were there any other videos you wanted me to play, Natalie?
You can play any of them. I know I posted one of her visiting the one neighbor, but that's her interaction 100% of the time with anybody or anything. She loves other dogs. She goes to work with me. She plays with all the other dogs, which unfortunately I haven't taken her anywhere due to the issues that I've had with the neighbor.
Ed, go say hi. She's in her own world today. What's up, puppies? You know me.
Like if she was aggressive, she wouldn't have recalled and she wouldn't have maintained her place. She will bark, which is a trait she does in the house also. But she's not. Her bark is to try to interact with people.
Thank you, Ms. Bonnie. Any questions from the commission members? Seeing none, unless there is something, Mr. Sadie, Ms. Bonnie, unless there is anything else that you would like to tell us, I am inclined to close the hearing for deliberations.
Sure.
I'm good at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, hearing no objection, I will close the meeting for deliberations. All right. This time I think we'll start with Lieutenant Tillman.
Good morning. In reference to the public safety threat, let's read the definition. It says either while at large chases or approaches a lawfully restrained domestic animal in an aggressive manner. And the next section, number 6, says while at large chases or approaches a person in an aggressive manner. So whether the dog's wagging its tail or not, that doesn't really mean if it's being happy or aggressive. It just means it's excited, which could be good or bad, but it was barking pretty aggressively, it sounded like, and so, and it did approach both the leashed dog as well as the person walking. So same thing with the public nuisance, and technically it did break free, you know, so I think just going by the letter of the law, I think all 3 charges would apply.
Thank you, Lieutenant Tillman. Jackie?
Thank you. I do agree with Lieutenant Tillman, and what is more concerning to me is that Miss Bonnie doesn't seem to appreciate the feelings of Mr. Saidi as he was walking his dog. And that's always concerning to me when the owner doesn't understand or appreciate how their dog can be perceived by others. And obviously it was not under control, it was at large, and it scared somebody. So I vote to uphold all 3 citations with fines.
Thank you, Jackie. Dr. Hemmer?
I agree with Jackie and Lieutenant Tillman. I think they both did a great job expressing what I believe to be the opinion of the commission.
Ms. Nicole?
I'll just say ditto.
Gregory?
Yep, I would say to the letter of the law, that all the tickets are show very clearly through the video. I'd be inclined, since this was kind of like an accident incident, to waive the fees, but definitely uphold the citations.
Thank you. I think I pretty much agree with the rest of the commission. I guess, you know, I'm not 100% convinced that what I saw in the video meets the aggressive piece of it. However, in my mind, aggressive ought to be defined by the person that the dog came at, and Mr. Sadie clearly felt that it was aggressive. So yes, Jackie, I raised a question for you.
Sorry. I just want to say that German Shepherds are my breed. And my dogs do not act that way.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you. All right, can I get a motion? Go
Um,
ahead, Jackie.
okay, I'll make a motion that we uphold all three citations ending in 1062, 1063, 1064, with the accompanying fines.
Thank you. Any second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Thank you. Please call the next case.
If you're a participant in the Dignan versus Wright, please use the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelist. Mr. Wright, if you could please accept the promote to panelist. There we go. And then if you could unmute yourselves and turn your cameras on so I can swear you in. There you go. All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ms. Dignan, if you could please state your name and address for the record. Is it Jen Dignan? Dignan?
Degnan.
I'm sorry. I do apologize. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. 122 Round Bay Road, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
And then Mr. Wright, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
David Wright, 114 Round Bay Road, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
And Miss Kristen, I don't know what your last name is. I apologize. State your
That's
name
okay.
for that.
It's Kristen Lyman, neighbors. And my address is 121 Round Bay Road, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
We'll turn it over to the chairman.
Yes. Okay, so Mr. Wright, you are the complainant in this case. What would you like to tell the commission?
First of all, I'd like to describe Gigi, our 4-year-old standard poodle. She's 37 pounds. She's a spayed female. She's always leashed on our daily walks. Twice a day, we walk down Round Bay Road past the Degnans' home. Gigi is always on a leash. On the morning of May 10th, we encountered Kristen, who was walking her two dogs up the street towards her home. We spoke briefly, and I continued walking down the street. And I guess about another 100 feet, I was on the right side of the road. Gigi was leashed on my right side. There's a drainage ditch to the right of us. Sam, the Degnan's dog, came out of nowhere. I didn't see Sam until he was on top of us. My next memory is I'm on my back on the other side of the drainage ditch, fighting for my dog's life. Gigi was yelping, screaming, crying. She was bitten. I was just doing everything I could to contain Sam. the noise from all the commotion was heard a block in either direction from neighbors, as we understand. Scott Henson was the first on the scene. He lives at 127 Round Bay Road. He helped to contain Sam and got Sam off me. Evidently, I had Sam in a bear hug. I was trying to do everything I could to protect Gigi. About that time, Sean Degnan showed up in his vehicle. They had been out looking for Sam. I was injured in the incident. I sustained injuries to my left foot. Both Gigi and myself sought medical attention that very same day. The aftermath of this event was such that I had to give up several golf dates. I couldn't go sailing. I couldn't walk Gigi. We had a anniversary trip scheduled for early June that we considered canceling, but we didn't. Sam was running at large, not under the control of its owner. Sam was not on the owner's property and was not leashed. Sam inflicted injury to me and Gigi, which is verified by the vet bills and my medical bills that I would like to add to the record. We consider Sam to be an aggressive dog. He barks viciously in their home or in their yard when any leash dog walks by their property. And there's been 2 occasions since this event that Sam has been in our yard, again, unleashed and unattended. Sam is a very large dog. I don't know his weight, but I would guesstimate it to be over 100 pounds.
What type of dog is Sam? Do you know?
Yes, Sam is a mixed breed. He is a Great Pyrenees lab mix, and he's 84 pounds.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, Mr. Wright, because I didn't mean to cut into your. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us?
No. I do have, Kristen was a witness, and I'm glad she was able to be on this call. Yeah, after Gigi, I had contained Sam to the point that Gigi was able to escape and ran up the street, dragging her collar, her leash. Kristen intercepted Gigi, I believe, on the way home and brought Gigi home. And
You came home covered in mud.
yeah, I came home. I had dirt and debris all over me as I had been on my back struggling with Sam. And I would, Kristen, if you could chime in and say what you witnessed.
Procedurally, should I go ahead?
Actually, were you sworn in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Before you begin, can you just state your name and address for the record? If you did it already, I apologize, but I didn't recall hearing it.
Kristen Lyman, neighbors, 121 Round Bay Road, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
Thank you. Can you please tell us what you saw that day?
Sure. So, right after it happened, I'm a researcher and a scientist, so evidence is paramount to me. I don't trust memory, so I have a text message stamped at Friday, May 10th at 8:48 a.m., which I would just like to read for the record, and I don't want to add to that or subtract from it. So this is really my statement of what I saw and what I witnessed that day.
You said this was a text message, but this is a text message you composed, correct?
Yes. It was a text message to another family in the neighborhood that has a dog that I just thought they should know about, that another dog was loose and running around and potentially attacking other dogs. So it says, Sorry to bother you all in Italy. FYI, Sean Degnan's big black dog was loose this AM and attacked Dave Wright and Gigi. Lucy and I, Lucy's my dog, were walking up the driveway after saying hi to Dave and Gigi, and then we heard, I did not see, but I heard a crazy dog fight and shouting, and then Gigi sprinted up by Round Bay Road with the leash loose. Lucy and I ran down the driveway to see Dave down in the ditch with the black dog and someone else trying to get a hold of the dog. Lucy and I ran up Round Bay Road to find Gigi in her yard. Dave showed up a couple minutes later covered in mud. He said he and Gigi were just walking and the dog came out of nowhere. Gigi didn't fight back and ran while Dave tried to run interference. Dave said the dog didn't bite him and wasn't sure if Gigi was bitten. That's what I have to say.
I'm sorry, there's nothing for you you'd like to add to that, ma'am?
No.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Wright?
Will I have a closing statement, or should I make that now?
Is there anything else that you would like to tell the commission before we hear from Ms. Degnan? You can go ahead now. If there's anything else, if there's any other evidence that you submitted ahead of time, you can ask that be shown as well.
Well, I have an opportunity for a closing statement after Jen speaks.
Yes, you can speak one more time after she speaks. You can also ask her
Okay.
questions. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Degnan, what would you like to tell us? You're muted, ma'am. You need to unmute, please.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
First of all, yes, I'm the owner of Sam, and he is a 3-year-old lab Great Pyrenees mix. And we rescued him in November, and he's been under the care of a professional trainer since December. Prior to this day, he's shown no aggression towards other dogs or our 3 children and the young children who frequently visit our home. However, on the day of the incident, we regrettably, that all did take place, where Sam accidentally escaped through our front door while Sean was accepting a delivery and immediately started driving around looking for Sam. And I walked out front to look for Sam and then heard the horrible scuffle that both Kristen and Dave described. I was then standing outside our house, and between where the scuffle happened and where the Wrights live, I saw their dog run past the house, our house, to her house. At that point, Sean did go down to where Sam was, that Scott, our neighbor, and Dave were. And understandably so, Dave was very upset and, swearing and yelling at Sean. I just want to make the point that we are very sorry this happened. We certainly never intended for him to be off the leash. It was an accident. And all of this I expressed to Mrs. Wright that day on the phone and said, we are neighbors. We are certainly willing to work this out with you and attempt to, make all right with this, no pun intended. And at the time, Lori said to me, I never have any intention of reporting Sam to the county. I've never done anything like that before. And, it's certainly their prerogative to do that, but it seemed as if that once they did do that, sort of everything sort of changed. They started kind of on a campaign in our neighborhood. My husband's on the volunteer board, and they started showing up to meetings and making a case.
If I can interject real quick, can we
Yes.
just stay on track for the case for this one? I understand obviously there's going to be some issues going on, but just keep focusing on this date in question, okay? Thank you.
Certainly. On the day in question, again, we said we would certainly pay for Gigi's vet bills. In the meantime, we received bills that she and Mr. Wright had sent, and I had never agreed to that with Mrs. Wright, because my understanding from Scott was that, yes, Mr. Wright regrettably did fall into the ditch, but Sam did not attack or injure specifically Mr. Wright, was my understanding, again, from the conversation I had with Scott, who lives in that area. Since then, we have built.
Miss Degnan,
Yeah.
were you there that day?
I was home. I did not witness the event, but I was home.
Okay, so all right, that's what I need to know. You did not see any of this happen.
I just heard
So
it.
okay, so the information that you're presenting today, you received third hand from someone else, correct?
Yes. Well, no, I did see Gigi run home. I did hear the scuffle.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We've taken significant measures since this event. I just think it's important to note we've built a fence in our backyard, and that was at a great expense to us that we did not intend to do, but we have done that to make sure the neighbors feel safe. And Sam, while he has, in the meantime, before the fence was secure, unfortunately did escape. No other incidents with him and other neighbors' dogs have taken place. Any other questions for me? I'm sorry, I don't want to get off topic. I just want to explain that it was a terrible accident. We are sorry, and we have always owned rescue dogs, so we do everything we can to try to make sure our neighbors and family feel safe.
Thank you, Ms. Degnan. Mr. Wright, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, I would.
He did escape since the fence was put in.
Right. Sam has escaped since the fence was put in just 2 weeks ago. Sunday, he was in our driveway. But the points I would like to make is that we were not trespassing. We did not provoke this attack. Sam was not defending itself. Sam was not protecting its owner or anyone. The attack was witnessed by Kristen and Scott. We both sustained injuries. Gigi and I both sustained injuries for which we sought medical treatment immediately. We are the victims of the Degnan's negligence and carelessness in controlling Sam. And we would request that the commission to sustain the fines in the citations and add Sam on the county's list of potentially dangerous animals.
Okay, Mr. Wright, just so we're clear, and Autumn, correct me if I'm wrong, the only citation that I'm seeing is the one ending in 1029, and that's for a public safety threat, correct? There was no citation for a there's no potentially dangerous order issued.
There's no potentially dangerous orders issued. It's
Okay.
just citations.
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing nothing else, I'm going to close the hearing for deliberations. Okay, Lieutenant Tillman.
Based on the evidence, I say we uphold the citation.
I agree. Jackie?
I agree. We should
Dr.
uphold it.
Hemmer? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jackie.
That's
Dr.
okay.
Hemmer?
Just hold it with the fines intact.
I'm going to have to recuse myself. Mr. Wright is a former client of the current practice I work at.
Okay, thank you for letting us know, Dr. Hemmer. Nicole?
I think that while Ms. Degnan is apologetic, the evidence is there and what happened, and I also think that she is pretty lucky that he did not put affidavits on her for approaching the lawfully restrained domestic animal in an aggressive manner in addition to himself. And so I think that this is I would have liked to have seen those other citations, but I'd like to uphold the citation and the fine.
Thank you. Gregory?
I agree with commission. We should uphold the citation in its whole entirety.
Thank you. I agree. I actually, I agree with Nicole, especially. I would have liked to have seen this brought as a, would have liked to have seen a potentially dangerous order, issued, only because, I feel like there are a lot of other extra, um, yeah, go ahead, Autumn.
So anytime I get an affidavit of complaint that deals with public safety, it is forwarded to the public safety office, and each case is dealt with by history. And in particular with this case, I granted what happened is unfortunate. It was the first time. There's no history with the animal. There hasn't been any other incidences. So a PDO was not considered at the time. Now, if something were to happen again, I think that would change, but that at the time the decision was a warning letter, I believe.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate that. I would just like to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, up in, I think we're clearly going to uphold the public safety threat citation and the fines, but we can't impose any other conditions. And the fact that this dog has gotten out, and both sides admit this dog has gotten out even after the fence went up, is troublesome. I think it's only a matter of time before we're back on another incident. In any event, since we all seem to be in agreement, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we uphold the citation ending in 1029 along with the fines.
I'll second.
That was Nicole who seconded. Did you get that, Autumn? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Please call the next case.
If you are a participant in Martinez versus Green, please use the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelists.
Before we go any further on this one, can we just have a quick discussion on how we're going to go about this? Because it looks like there's several different farm animals being charged, and I just want to make sure we don't draw this out that more than we need to, because it looks like it's all from the same incident.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to put a little organization to it, but I also want to make sure that, okay, the agenda says they're only appealing to reduce the fines, but not denying the citations themselves. Is that correct?
Yes. So I believe most of they're running at large and public nuisance. Most of the animals, all of the animals each got a public nuisance and a running at large. So like each individual animal, there's only one animal that wasn't marked as a public nuisance, and I believe that was the baby, the calf. They only did running at large for the calf.
Okay, so let me, before we actually begin testimony, let's make sure I want to make sure we're all on the same page, because it could change how we hear all of this. Mr. Martinez, actually, they have not been sworn in yet, have they?
No.
Okay, go ahead and swear them in, because I need to ask specifically about his appeal, and then we will answer Lieutenant Tillman's questions to figure out how we're going to approach all these citations.
All could raise your right hands for me, please.
I can't hear.
Can you hear? Is your volume down or? While she's working on that, do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then one at a time, if you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gerardo Martinez, 731 Mayo Road, Avenue East, Edgewater, Maryland.
Same address. My name is Jessica Mendoza, and I am also the property owner as well.
Okay. For the Martinez's, you guys have your background. Okay.
I'll fix it. There we go.
Is that bad? All right, she's got that. Okay. You guys have your background blur on, which means as one of you shifts, the other one goes completely out of focus and we can't see him. So yeah, if you could turn that off, as long as you both are on the screen. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Before we begin, I just want to make sure we are clear on why we are here today. I have a notation on my agenda that, Mr. Martinez, that you are not contesting the citations themselves. You are only contesting the fines. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. We don't like our animals got out from a tree falling on our fence during a storm, and we're just hoping to, because there's a citation, 2 citations per animal. We're hoping to consolidate it to just 1 citation per animal.
And also we've taken steps to remediate, but I'm sure we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so I guess my question is, and I don't want to cut anybody short. Ms. Green, you know, I want you to have your day here as well, but I'm just not sure unless anyone else feels like it is that, do we feel like it's necessary to hear all of the underlying evidence that led to the citations if the defendant's not denying or contesting the citations?
I believe at this point, all we need to know is any mitigating factors. The case has already been planned, it's already done, so I don't think we need to know now is, do we just consolidate it? Because, you know, I think it all just depends on what they've done to fix the problem. And I think if we just keep it to that, I think we should be good.
I agree that we really only need mitigating factors. Ms. Green, I see you had your hand raised. Was there something you wanted to tell us? You're muted, ma'am. You need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Take that. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
This is not the first time I've been to court with the same issue with Mr. Martinez. I'd like to add that we went to court on January 3rd of 2023 for basically the same issue, only then it was for goats in my yard. And at that time, he also appealed so that the affidavits could be amended. He, using grace statements in court to gain mercy of the court, and they did just that. They did amend the fines to $25, also ordering him to fix the issues, keep his animals off of my property, and if he had to come back to court again for the same issues, that he should be ordered to pay the full amount. So to come here today to have it amended, I'm not understanding, because the problem has not been resolved at all. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is the second time I've come to court. And I'd like to add that when we went to court on that day for the goats, it was exactly a month and 18 days later, on February 21st, 2023, that his animals escaped again after we had went to court. Did not fix the problem. I had a police officer and animal control came out. The only thing is I didn't have time to submit the orders because of personal issues, but there was an incident report created by the police officers that came out. I don't have a problem at all with the farm that's behind me. I think it's a great thing. My concern is it's been a history of his animals escaping and coming into my community on my property. I even have a witness. I have a witness here for a witness statement. And I also have videos that I submitted to Autumn Cortez from a neighbor that lives 3 doors up. She provided a video and footage. I also provided videos and pictures as well of the incident. And I'm afraid. I'm honestly afraid. I have a little dog. I don't feel safe coming outside because I have been chased by a bull. There have been cows in my yard. There have been goats in my yard. And all I want is peace. I've lived here all my life. I've never had this issue, and I just want peace. That's it. And I want him to contain his animals to his property. This footage right here is from Miss Jasmine Crowner, who lives 3 doors up. This is the video she submitted. This is in front of my house. That's a malnutrition cow right there, as well as another cow grazing on my shrubs. I also submitted a video with all of his cattle running down my community road. That's them at the other neighbor's house.
Great, thank you, Autumn. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me, Nick?
It looks like she was using her phone for
Just
the
a minute,
sound.
ma'am. I'm sorry. Let's try to say that again. I'm sorry.
Actually, I hadn't said anything yet. I had just thanked Autumn for showing the photos and the videos. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us, Ms. Green?
I just want to add that, again, I've lived here all my life. I've never had this issue before. I just want to feel safe for me, my neighbors, and my dog. My dog is small. He's not aggressive, and I just don't feel safe coming outside, enjoying my property and my land and the fresh air anymore since this farm has been put back behind me. And I'm not against animals at this point. I am concerned about the animals and their welfare if they're being properly taken care of, because they've been escaping periodically over and over again. And one of the cows that's shown there, apparently he's malnourished. I mean, you can see his ribs and everything. So it just makes me wonder, are they being properly cared for? I mean, I love animals. I have a dog, I care for him, and I'm concerned for me, my dog, and the animals and my community. I'm not against the farm at all. I just want him to do what he said he was going to do in court the last time, and which was put up adequate fencing to contain his animals, keep them off of my property.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Green. I appreciate that. There's nothing that the commission can, the commission is unable to address any of your concerns about the welfare of the animals today, because that's not what's in front of us. But we can address the current citations and the associated fines. Mr. Martinez, you already indicated that you do not dispute the actual citations, but you wanted to present some evidence to potentially mitigate the fines. Before you do that, though, I just want to confirm, were you in fact cited previously for having your goats at large?
Yes. We, I mean, we live in the state of Maryland, and trees fall all the time. So especially where we live, like our fence line is right on the tree line, and a tree fell. And so the previous time we actually had Officer Phillips and a few other members of the SMART program from the police department come out and assist us with the fixing of the fence. This time, a tree fell again, and the same officers came out and assisted us with fixing the fence while they were at large. And as soon as we got them all in, the officers helped us fix it. They helped us put in a second line of fencing now, of electrical fencing, to keep them off as well. So, according to the state of Maryland, everybody has the right to farm on their property, and impeding that is against the state legislator. So the officers have taken like a very keen focus on us since we had accept so many volunteers within their program of the kids that need help. So we kind of showed it to them. We have evidence of what the fence line looks like now, but we have taken like more measures. All of our goats and cows, because they are opportunists, that's like how they are as nature wise. As soon as a fallen tree comes down, they see a weak point and they will walk through it, no matter if there's lush grass or flowers in one side. They're going to go through it even if it's beautiful. But the officers have been really courteous in helping us, and happy to bring them in. I know we're not talking about the malnutrition, but that's a separate breed of cow. That's a dairy cow. They look very different from a beef cow. So dairy cows, generally you can see their hips and ribs, and that one actually happened to
Yeah,
so.
sir, we're really not addressing any of the animal welfare concerns that were raised. I really just want to hear anything you'd like to tell us that supports your request for us to reduce or eliminate the fines.
Yeah, we just, we're a community organization that's like focused on helping the community. We see around 20,000 kids a year on our farm alone, just in community events. So, every little dollar goes very far for us. Luckily, we're very sustainable in terms of the operation, but in terms of the community and stuff, any fine just prevents more kids from coming here. But
what is your organization?
Wild Kid Acres.
So we do a lot of field trips for school, and also bring kids from communities like from DC that have never had access to a farm, so that they can experience that. I also wanted to add that our cows are not aggressive. Yes, they're cows, but they are with people, and with my 3-year-old is one of my cows all the time, and we have kids around them all the time.
And as far as the community is concerned, actually, the complainant's neighbor who owns the land there, as well as the neighbor adjacent to them, have asked us to take over the land right next to her property, because they don't want to pay the taxes on it. So they want us to take over the agricultural assessment for them.
Okay, you're getting way far afield here, sir.
Yeah, sorry.
I just want to hear anything
May I
relevant
speak?
to in just a moment, Ms. Green. I just want to hear anything relevant to mitigating these fines. So what I'm hearing is this is a nonprofit organization. Am I correct?
Yes.
We have
Does
both.
This
and a nonprofit. We have two.
Okay. Who owns the animals?
The for-profit organization.
Well, it's our animals. We're the property owners.
Yeah, we're the property owners that own it. So we own the LLC, and then the nonprofit does all the charitable events.
Okay. All right. Ms. Green, you wanted to say something else. What was it?
I just wanted to say that, speaking to what he said, as far as my neighbor wanting him to buy the
Ma'am, we are
property.
not, ma'am, we're not,
Okay,
we
well,
are
that's
not
not
going to
true.
consider anything
Okay.
involving the neighbor. The neighbor's not here to testify, and it's not before us today.
I do have a witness.
Is the witness here to provide evidence about the fines themselves, or just that the event happened? Because I don't think there's any dispute that the event happened, and Mr. Martinez is not challenging that.
Okay, well, she was a witness to the event because they also was on her property. And she was with me in court the last time when his fines were amended.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I don't need to, there's no dispute the event happened, that this happened, and that it's happened more than once. So if you have nothing else related to the fines themselves. Okay.
I was not finished. I'm sorry, and I know that.
That's okay. Go ahead.
With the going back to the fence, back when we were in court last time, we changed our fencing from then, and now again we're getting new fence. So we've gone through 2 rounds of different fencing, just testing out what works best with falling trees and all. So right now we're taking at a very large expense, thousands of dollars, to replace a lot of our fence line with cattle panel. So we already taken that, and we're actually today, as we speak, we're putting more posts. We've been putting posts over the past couple of weeks that you are all welcome to come look at them. Post and cattle panels with concrete. That's taking a lot of money from us to redo our fencing. So we're doing one line at a time. So that's another step we're taking to remediate. We're well aware that trees fall, so that we're switching to fence that's even stronger.
Okay. Do any commission members have questions for either of these parties? Okay, seeing no questions, I'm going to close the hearing for deliberations. Okay. I think I'll start with Nicole this time.
So do we know where this case was for the goats? Did the commission hear it, or was this some sort of county court?
It's not ringing a bell for me. She
Yeah.
said January.
But she said 23, so.
Oh.
But I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm not sure it matters because I just mean that we both sides admit that this has come to court before, and that in some respect, and that he has previously requested that fines be reduced. It would have had to have come before us.
I would imagine, but
Yeah. The disposition dates were the 3rd of January in 2023. Found guilty on 4 counts of public nuisance and 2 counts of animal disturbance.
Did we reduce the fines?
Let me double check. So it looks like, so this went before district court. And it looks like the fines were reduced by district court.
Okay, not by us.
No.
Okay, so Nicole, does that change what you were getting ready to say?
probably not, because I don't really know what I'm going to say at this point. I mean, I recognize there's a lot of animals that are causing this disturbance, whether it be the fact that they're different kind of animals this time. They do seem like they're taking mitigating actions, but I don't think it's right to uphold 2 citations per animal for this. I mean, that's very costly considering the situation, but I'm up to hear what others have to say.
How much, Autumn, can you tell me how much the fine is for each one?
They're $50 for each one.
Per citation or per animal, because each one is getting 2 citations.
Per citation.
Okay, and we have 10, right? So that's 500.
Yes.
10, okay. All right, Jackie?
Thank you. I'm going to speak from being a livestock owner and on a farm with fencing and trees. And yeah, this is kind of the nature of the beast, that livestock, as he said, they can be opportunist, and trees do fall. But it sounds like they are making good efforts to fix the problem. Don't know that it's going to completely solve it, because again, it is the nature of being on a farm with livestock. My recommendation would be to uphold the at-large citations and the fines, and not the the public nuisance, which would then mean that each animal has 1 citation.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Hummer?
Thank you. I'm gonna row in a little bit of a different direction. I am thinking we should uphold all the citations and uphold all the fines because this is not a one-time incident. This is something that's occurred in the past by both parties' admissions. I appreciate the fact that having livestock and running a farm, um, stuff happens. I mean, you can't control nature, but still, there's a responsibility that you need to be proactive in maintaining fence lines and things like that. I'm not uncomfortable giving several animals multiple citations because we've done that in the past and we've done that in the past this morning. So, based on the past history in this situation, I'm thinking that we need to uphold all the citations and all the fines.
Just so we're clear, I don't think at this point we have authority to dismiss any of the citations because the citations themselves were not challenged. The only thing that were challenged were the fines. So I think all of the citations get upheld. We can't sua sponte just on our own decide we're
Agreed.
getting rid of citations that nobody has questioned. So all right,
Agreed.
Gregory, how do you
And
feel? Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Hummer, go ahead. I thought you were finished.
no, I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you, Jennifer.
So I'm more inclined, how I feel about the situation is just to reduce the fees. I can understand that. I can see they're trying to make a clear effort. They're even trying to put a better fence. They're experimenting. So I know that really does cost a lot of money, looking into the thousands. So I feel like just reducing it would still give them understanding that this is serious, but we don't need to penalize them so much because of a fallen tree. That's just part of life. But I think just reducing it by half would be enough to show them, hey, there are consequences to this stuff. So that's how I feel about this.
Thank you. Lieutenant Tillman.
I believe that they do have a right to farm. However, they also got take the responsibility with it. And I'm also a firm believer in progressive discipline. They're already, I guess, had the charges reduced in the past, and you already got one shake of that tree. So I say we uphold the fines.
Thank you. I'm kind of on the. I mean, I agree with the progressive discipline. I get it. It was goats before, and this time it's cows. But regardless, I couldn't imagine walking out my front door and coming face to face with a bull. I saw the one video where the bull turned and looked straight at me. Like, what do you do? I mean, I'm certainly not going to my car, which means I might be late for work or whatever that day. And I sympathize with the farming and trees fall, stuff happens, but I don't know. I'm not inclined to reduce the fines a second time. So I guess since we seem, I think, kind of split on that, let's just take. We know all the citations are being upheld. I'm just going to take a run at a motion to uphold the fines as they currently exist, and we'll see where we get with that.
I second that, Jennifer.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. Those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Give me one second, because I'm just trying to note the two that abstained, which was Jackie and Gregory.
Greg. Yep.
They
That
didn't
was not an
abstain.
it was an abstention. I voted against.
Yes.
And I believe
I'm sorry,
Gregory did as well.
My apologies. Okay.
Autumn, you had said earlier that a case fell off, so I'm going to assume that that is the remaining case on the docket, the potentially dangerous order.
That one's still there. So Naylor versus Animal Care and Control is still on there. It was another potentially dangerous order that was on there that fell off. So
Oh,
we
okay, so we do
Awesome.
still have one more case.
just one more, yes.
Okay, please call that case.
If you're a participant in Naylor versus Animal Care and Control, please use the raise hand function, and I will promote you. Right. If you could please turn on your cameras and unmute yourself, please. All right, if you could please raise your right hands. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Officer Bame, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Officer Megan Bame, Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control. My work address is 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Ms. Naylor, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Melissa Naylor, 335 Prestwick Way, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
And Mr. Naylor, if you could please do the same.
Yes. My name is Andrew Naylor. I reside at 335 Prestwick Way, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
I will turn it over to the chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, officer, is it Bohm?
Correct.
Okay, we'll start with you.
Okay. On September 3rd, Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control's Public Safety Department received a human exposure and animal attack report via email from Anne Arundel County Communications call taker Elizabeth Blizzard, number 9478, regarding a dog bite to a human, an animal incident that occurred on September 2nd, 2024. After such the incident, Miss Christina Phillips immediately took her dog Indy to seek emergency medical services at Happy Tails Vet in Pasadena. She then came back and spoke to the owners of the dogs involved, and then she took her son Andrew to seek medical attention as well. Between the dates of September 4th, 2024 and September 9th, 2024, statements from the bite victim's mother, Miss Christina Phillips, and the suspect dog's owner, Miss Melissa Naylor, were submitted to Animal Care and Control, as well as medical records and photographs of the victim's injury, which was a puncture to the left thumb and wrist and scratch to the elbow, and the injury to his dog, or the mother's dog, bites and punctures to the neck, the right eye area, the right ear area, abdomen, spine, left shoulder, left hip. 3 drains had to be placed and medications given to prevent infection and assist with the pain. After speaking with both parties involved, Ms. Phillips expressed her concern for the well-being of the Naylor's dogs. Moving forward, advised that she did not want anything bad to happen to them. And Mr. and Mrs. Naylor advised that they were continually following up on Andrew, their son, and Indy's recovery, and had already reached out to cover the vet costs. Ms. Naylor later advised that she had discovered that their electric fence had actually had a wire break detected on the date of the incident, and that's why Petey was able to escape from the yard with Indy. At this point, I'll read Miss Christina Phillips' statement. My name is Christina Phillips, and this is my statement regarding case 003 and 004. On Monday, September 2nd, 2024, my son Andrew Phillips and his friend Sloan Kniffel were walking our dog, Indy, a Shih Tzu poodle mix type, on a leash down Prestwick Way. They walked by a house that had 2 dogs in the driveway. A smaller dog spotted our dog and ran towards our dog and bit him. This triggered the bigger dog to break the invisible fence and also attack our dog. Both dogs were biting our dog and Andrew tried to free our dog from them. Andrew had to wrestle both dogs and was bitten on the left thumb and left wrist and had multiple abrasions on his arms and legs. Sloan was able to pull off the bigger dog by the collar to get him off of Indy. Sloan did not get injured in the injury. Andrew and Sloan then ran home and informed her of the incident. Indy was bitten in the neck, right eye, right ear, abdomen, spine, left shoulder, and left hip. I contacted our vet and was referred to emergency vet services at Happy Tails in Pasadena, When we drove back to the house and talked to the owners, Andy and Melissa Naylor, to inform them of the incident and obtain the rabies records vaccinations for both dogs. They were both very concerned and cooperative when they then took Andrew to seek medical attention as well. Excuse me, I'm sorry. At this point, I'll read the owner statement. Good afternoon. The statement and information is in reference to my Melissa Naylor, Tets, Indiana Jones, and PD, case 003 and 004. The incident occurred on Monday, September 4th, 2024. I believe she meant to put the second, in the early afternoon. Our Ring camera was not successful in capturing the event, so my statement is according to what Christina and Andrew provided. Christina, Drew, and one unidentified person came to our front door. They shared the details with us as the following. Drew was taking Indy Bones for a walk and wanted to go a little further, so they decided to walk in the cul-de-sac in front of our home. Both our dogs began to bark, and Indiana Jones walked into the court to initiate the fight. Pete, who is hooked up to the invisible fence, decided to join and cross the fence. My understanding is that both dogs were being aggressive and biting. Drew tried to push and kick our dogs back so he could get Indy off the ground. While doing that, he incurred a wound from one of the pets as he was bleeding from the index finger. I do not know how long the event went on or the details. Our dogs are known for barking at neighbors, walking, running, etc. on Main Preswick Way, but have never initiated something like this. The Phillips have been very kind in their interactions with us and just want to ensure that both Drew and Indy Bones heal completely from this horrific event. We've been in contact with the family on a daily basis. And then on September 9th, I, Officer Boehm, advised Mr. and Mrs. Naylor that under the Anne Arundel County Code, Article 12.4.402, A, 2, 3, and 5, Public Safety, and Article 12.4.905, Animals Running at Large, their dogs, Indy and PD, would need to be brought into the shelter to be placed on a public safety impound and would be issued a potentially dangerous order as a result of this public safety violation. Ms. Naylor then brought the dogs into the shelter and signed the PDO on September 10th, 2024. An appointment for inspection at the Naylor's residence of 335 Preswick Way, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146 was made for September 23rd, 2024. Anne Arundel County Care and Control found the owners of Indy and PD to need to have the top of the outside kennel covered with the correct gauge of fencing material, and this was completed, and they were in full compliance with the potentially dangerous order issued on the evening of September 23rd, 2024. Photos were taken showing compliance. All the above incidents described occurred in Anne Arundel County, Maryland.
Thank you, Officer Boehm. I do have a question though. I'm a little confused on the animals at play. Are there two dogs named Indy?
Yes. One from
Okay,
the
that's
and one from the owner as well.
wow. Okay, I think that's what caused my confusion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have either of anyone for the victims here today?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Naylor, which one of you would like to begin?
I'll begin. Do you have the have you had a chance to review our reason for appeal, I guess, or should I read that, or?
Go ahead and tell us why you're appealing the case today.
Okay, I wrote it out a little bit better. Sure. So we're appealing on the grounds that this was, like, first of all, our hearts go out to, like, the Phillips who've been working for him. Like, this is a horrendous thing that, like, we didn't think that our dogs were capable of. Like, they've Indy is, we've known that he's not good on a leash, but he's like super human friendly, and he's and Petey's been the same way. They have dog play dates. Like, uh they're typically not aggressive dogs, and Indy has been like a yard dog for like since we've been there. So, like, he's an old man that will just like sit there and watch us do stuff in the yard. And I guess where we live, we live on like kind of a private cul-de-sac where there's like we're set a little farther back from the road, and Indy has just been content to just sit there and watch people walk by. Like every now and then he'll bark, but like he'll never actually like pursue or do anything like that. Um, it just so it just so happened that we don't get any dog traffic in our cul-de-sac, and this has never happened before, I guess. We didn't know that this was possible. We didn't know that this would ever happen. Um, Indy's always kind of been like the neighborhood dog. He greets all of our neighbors that come up, and like he's always been like very just a relaxed old man pretty much. And PD, we got him about 8 months ago, or maybe a year ago. We went through training, and on on advice of the trainers, we got both of them on like prong collars, which was changed, like which we um which we really like. The dogs were like more well behaved on walks now and stuff. But the basis of the appeal is that like this was like Indy thought that it was his yard. Like we never see anybody there. Like it's our fault that we've let him like just hang out in the yard like that. We honestly had no idea that this would happen, or that it was even a possibility.
Mr. Naylor, is there a specific provision of the potentially dangerous order that you're appealing, or are you appealing the designation altogether? Because I did review your letter, and it seemed to me that you were questioning the fence.
I would like them not to be on the potentially dangerous dog, or be classified as potentially dangerous dogs. And I like, based on that, like they were like Indy thought that they were in his property. And like based on the mitigations that we're going to propose to put in place, like we at like that this will never happen again.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Naylor, did you want to add something to that?
I think the only thing to really add, I mean, it was hard hearing the list of what they went through with the injuries. You know, at the end of the day, they are animals, and it was our job to make sure this didn't happen. And so that's our main goal in this. You know, our Indiana, he's 11 and a half years old. Like, we've successfully been great pet owners. And as Andy said, you know, we never, ever thought this was even a possibility. And I know it's hard to hear that it's just like a one-off. It was just a one-time situation, but we understand the scope and the severity of it. And so we are asking that the potentially dangerous dog order be revoked. And we do have plans we do have plans that we would like to propose, I guess, in lieu of the requirements under that order. I don't know if that's something we present now, but we are taking this very seriously. It's just that we think we can do it in a different way than was proposed in the order.
Okay, and is your appeal for both dogs? Are you questioning whether both dogs should be under the PDO or just Indy?
Andy, do you?
Yeah, I mean, we would.
Sorry, go ahead.
We would like both dogs to not be under the potentially dangerous order, but we are going to propose more strict like controls for Indiana Jones than for PD. As with like we know that Indiana Jones is like he wasn't great on a leash, like towards other dogs. So like we're going to address that. But like as far as like PD goes, like he has like uh we have 4 kids, and they have a great relationship with the dogs. They walk the dogs. They walk like they're very active in like socializing the dogs and like getting them around and stuff. And like we wanted them to continue doing that. And but like with more severe restrictions with Indiana than with PD.
And I'll expand on that. So for instance, as an example, like we do see the value in having our Indy muzzled on walks, whereas PD, he's great on walks without Indy. He listens very well. So yeah, we're looking to have stricter guidelines with Indy because we do think that he's the instigator and that yeah.
Okay. Do any commission members have questions?
I think your point is still on the table for the nailers, Jennifer. In the potentially dangerous order, what specifically do you want to address for each one of the dogs, short of us revoking the PDO for both dogs? I mean, that's kind of what I need to know. Does that make sense?
It does to me. Mr. and Mrs. Naylor, do you understand what Dr. Hemmer is asking?
Are you asking for what mitigations we'll put in place to like mitigate or sorry?
No, he's asking if there, aside from revoking the order, we understand you don't want the dogs labeled as potentially dangerous, but if we were inclined to do that anyway, which provisions of the potentially dangerous order are you asking to be modified?
The 6-foot privacy fence, the like the insurance, and there were the muzzle, and letting them be I believe that there was a provision for like who can walk the dogs. Like we'd like at least for PD, we'd like the girls to still be able to walk the PD. But we have like yeah, that's what we'd like modified.
And specifically for the fence, if I could, one of our concerns with the 6-foot privacy fence is because, as you said, we do have 4 children and we're often in the driveway or different parts of the yard, and having visibility of them is really important to us. And so we would propose we still see the value in having a fence, and we think it's a great idea. But it would be, say, a 4.5, maybe 5-foot fence that they could not get through, but it would have visibility to our children. And so that's an example of what we're proposing.
So may I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
So in the stipulation for the PDO, I just want to make sure everyone's aware. It does say if you're unable to meet the fencing requirements, you must build and maintain a locked enclosure dog kennel, which you have. You have that on your back patio. We have the photos. You all completed that on the 23rd of September. So at this point, you're not required to have that fence installed because you have that kennel. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to clarify that. That's all.
So the fence is a
was
moot
very
issue
helpful.
at this point. Yeah.
So if I could, the like the kennel right now is complete. Like we did everything we could to get these dogs back. Like we care about the dogs a lot, and like we want to put in a more permanent solution, which would be to put a fence up, because like the kennel, like we can't get around our backyard anymore. Like what we would like to like put up a shorter fence so that we can maintain visibility into the backyard and just have the dogs back there. Also repair the electric fence. PD responds very well to that. But like we'd like to put these alternate mitigations in, like as opposed to the like the kennel and the everything in the PDO. And like we're asking for a second chance for these dogs. Like we didn't know this could happen, and like we were kind of like lulled into a false sense of security. Like they sit outside like for years without like exhibiting behavior that we like they're not we don't think that they're dangerous dogs. We just think it was like the wrong set of circumstances that we'll never allow to happen again, but we don't think that we don't agree with them potentially dangerous.
Can I ask her? I'm a little confused, and I apologize because I don't want to belabor this any longer than necessary, but I'm a little confused on how this happened. My understanding was the victim and another dog were walking by the Naylor's house. Is that correct, Officer Bohm?
Correct.
And it was the victim and the victim dog, or I'm sorry, it was the victim's dog that was the aggressor that instigated this instance? No?
No, the two boys were walking the victim dog past the area of the Naylor's home. And correct me if I'm wrong, Indy, the Naylor's dog, the owner's dog, didn't have the electric fence collar on and wasn't hooked into the electric fence. So he was able to go out and begin to interact with the boys and the animal.
Okay, I think it was the same name for the two dogs that got me confused because
Yes, ma'am.
I was okay. All right.
Also, my name is Andrew and the victim's name is Andrew, and we have the same name dog, so it's sorry.
I just no, that's please don't apologize for that, but that certainly helps me clean up these facts a little bit. Okay, you mentioned I understand you have an issue with the fence. You also mentioned the insurance. What was your request with the insurance?
To not carry the insurance. The cost is like enormous for like it's like it's a lot. Mel, do you have how much was it?
Well, the original quote was $2,300 a year, but I think we ended up paying $1,300.
And that's for the $300,000
for each dog. Yeah.
Oh, for each dog.
Sorry, the 1,300 is the total, but each dog will have the $300,000 liability insurance.
Okay.
And I guess,
And
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. That's all right.
One thing I wanted to mention too with the fence, I don't know if we described the dog. So the 11.5-year-old dog is a Corgi mix. Not a big jumper. And this is a reason that we're confident in our fence plan because our neighbors behind us, they have a fence. I think it kind of dips to, I think we measured 4 feet, and then at the highest it's 4.5 feet. Our dogs have never jumped, never even really approached the fence, and so we're confident that the visibility fence that is a bit shorter than the 6 foot would work very well. They've never jumped over baby gates that we have in our home either.
Okay, so you're questioning the fence, the insurance, and then you also mentioned who's able to walk the dogs, correct? Can you be a little more specific? I understand you have children and you want the children to be able to walk the dogs, but can you tell us how old the children are?
Sure. Or go ahead, Andy.
Elliot is the main one that she's 10 years old. She her and her 10-year-old friend will take PD around the block, PD and Indy around the block. We're not asking for any of the younger children to be able, just her pretty much. And she's been able to walk them both like with the prong collar on, like no issues. Like before this happened, we'd like her to continue to be able to do that without the muzzle.
Without the muzzle.
For
Yes.
PD. We're still okay with Indy wearing the muzzle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's best.
Okay. Are there any other provisions of the, Jackie, you have a question?
Sorry, and I apologize if I've missed this along the way. What kind and size of dog is Petey?
So PD, he's about 1.5 years old. We rescued him. He was sold to us as a lab mix. So he's 47% pit bull, with 13% lab, and so he's a black and white pit mix, and he's, I think, 61 pounds.
Thank you.
Were there any other provisions? I mean, I think you've hit almost every one, but is there anything else specifically that you are asking to be modified in the provisions?
From what I can remember of the provisions, sorry, I don't have them here in front of me. Like we're yeah, we would like to, like, in lieu of the permanent kennel, we would like to put up the 4.5 foot fence.
We got
We're
that.
going
And no
to
insurance, and the kids be able to walk the dogs. Anything?
no muzzle for PD. Mel, can you think of anything else?
No, I think from what I can remember on the list, I think that covers it.
Thank you. Officer Baum, did you have anything you wanted to say based on what you heard from the nailers?
No, I mean, I think the facts of the case speak for themselves. I did have the opportunity to interact with the dogs on multiple occasions within the shelter. They were scared within the shelter, but there wasn't any aggressive behavior that I was able to note. But beyond that, no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the nailers from commission members? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the hearing for deliberations. Dr. Hemmer, I'm going to start with you. I want to hear a professional's opinion based on the facts heard. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. So I'm taking a little bit of a different approach to the facts that I've heard here, and I'm looking at this in a matter of checks and balances is how I'm looking at this. The nailers present to me as conscientious pet owners. I mean, the animal control has said they've come into full compliance to get the pets back. So I really think that they are taking this matter seriously and will take our recommendations to heart. So I've been balancing kind of some checks and balances, and the way I'm seeing it is we have a fence issue, an insurance issue, a muzzle issue, and a who can walk the dog issue. Is the 4 things I think they're trying to hit on. Getting rid of the fence, keep putting a fence and getting rid of the kennel seems like a reasonable trade-off to me. I'm comfortable with the 4.5 foot, 5 foot fence. I think that would work and accomplish what we need to have done here. And I appreciate Mrs. Naylor's concern of being able to have visibility when she's watching her, kids that are less than 10. I mean, I get that. So that makes sense to me. I can probably live with the dispartite muzzling requirement where Indy is without a doubt muzzled, and PD is not muzzled. But if we're going to allow that accommodation, I'm afraid that as I'm thinking through it, we're going to have to really stick with keeping the insurance in place. Because that's really our stopgap to make sure that the public is protected should we have another adverse event going forward. The piece that I'm having a tough time with is who can walk the dog. And by Mr. Naylor's admission, there are apparently two 10-year-old girls that walk both these dogs in the neighborhood without anyone over 18 or being able to control these dogs. And I guess that's what just still bothers me in terms of trying to put all this together to come up with a reasonable solution that protects the public interest, but helps the the Nailers maintain a safe environment for their dogs. So with that said, I would probably say that the fence is okay to replace with the kennel. The insurance has to stay in place, and it's okay to muzzle Indy, but not muzzle PD. But the 10-year-olds can't walk the dog alone. There has to be an adult with them, and that's I think that gives a fair balance of checks and balances to keep the public safe from this happening again. So I'll be curious to see what the commission has to say.
Okay, can I ask a question of my fellow commission members? Because I got to tell you, I struggled with this, I think, because of the dogs' names and it, or just the whole chain of events. We know Petey jumped into the fray at some point, but do we know for certain that Petey was the cause of any of these injuries? I guess this is a very young dog, and I feel like it's, older sibling has kind of dragged it down a bad road here, and we could be labeling a dog that might not have been an aggressor here. Am I the only one that got that impression, or?
No, I got that impression too, but I think they just packed up is what happened here. I think Indy probably started everything, and then PD saw it going on. He just packed up, went out, and joined in Indy in a pack behavior. So your point, if I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm understanding where you're going with this, Jennifer, is maybe lifting the PDO on PD. I haven't considered that, to be honest with you. But that's a good point. Anyone
And I
else?
see Nicole shaking her head, talk me out of it. I guess I'm not sure I heard enough evidence to keep the PDO against PD. Everything I seemed to hear was for Indy. So Nicole.
I didn't see any evidence to not take the PDO away from PD. There's no evidence on which dog caused the injuries in the end. Yep, Indy may have started it, but PD may have been the young, powerful jaws that imparted all of that horrendous injuries on a dog that very well could have died from his injuries.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You're right. I don't know which dog caused it. Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Nicole, since we?
I just think that we shouldn't lend much credence into the comment that was made a couple times about what the dogs were thinking. The dogs were thinking that the road was their yard. Well, we can't speak to what the dogs were thinking. And just because they had been good so long, they were in a they were put in a situation. They did not react favorably to the situation. And again, this dog could have died from its injuries. It wasn't just, one bite. It was multiple horrific injuries. But I will echo Officer Bame's observations on the dogs in kennel. I did observe them during my normal course of time there, and they were scared in the shelter environment. They were not aggressive, did not come, at me within the cage confines. So, I mean, obviously I did not handle them at all, but that's the one thing that I'm going back to in this case, but I do think that both PDOs should be upheld.
Okay. Lieutenant Tillman?
I concur.
What about their request for modifications?
I believe they sound reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Jackie?
Back to, which dog did what. We're not in a position to make that determination at all. And so I agree with Nicole that we should consider the fact that they both were involved and equally. It sounds to me, and I might be wrong about this, that it has been the normal course for the nailer Indy, the attacking Indy, to be able to just lie around in Indy's front yard unattended, which is a concern to start with. And obviously we're going to stop that. I can appreciate their concern about the privacy fence and not being able to see their children inside the fenced yard when they might be working in their front yard. And so I'm inclined to say, yes, we could modify the fencing with that. Pardon the pun, I'm on the fence as to whether Petey needs a muzzle or not. I would like to give Petey the chance to prove that he doesn't need one. But I'm not sure what kind of precedent that would set. Indy definitely needs to have a muzzle. The insurance again needs to stay. And I'm not at all confident with a 10-year-old child walking either one of the dogs under these circumstances.
Okay, thank you. Gregory?
So I know Mr. Naylor wanted to appeal the whole potential order, but unfortunately, I stand firmly that we should uphold it. I am willing to modify it. I agree with Nicole and Lieutenant and sorry, I forgot your name, Dr. Williams. So with the insurance, definitely needs to be in play. That's one aspect I feel strongly about because we don't want this to happen again.
Okay. Okay, so let's just to make it simpler, let's split this, or it'd be my suggestion to split it. As far as upholding the PTO will be one vote, and then the modifications can be a separate vote. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we uphold the PDOs for both dogs.
I second.
All in favor? Okay, so now let's talk about any modifications. Dr. Hemmer, you seem to have, I think, the clear grasp on each one. So did you want to?
Let me, yeah, I'll make a stab at it, and then the commission members can sorry. My apologies.
That's okay. Are we gonna do the modifications one dog at a time, or are we just, or we're gonna, whatever it's for one will stay for the other? We're gonna do them together. I don't.
Yeah, the way I'm understanding it, the only modification per dog would be the muzzling. So I would make a motion that we allow the nailers to remove the kennel and replace it with a 4 to a 4.5 foot fence. The insurance stays in place as already prescribed in the order. The dogs cannot be walked by the 10-year-old daughter, and that Indy must be muzzled at all times off the property, and PD does not. I believe that sums everything up that we were talking about, and I make that motion.
Okay. Any second? Jackie,
Excuse me,
you're muted.
before we go to second, do we need to talk about specifics for the modification of a fence?
Specifics such as, I thought the only
Like
thing in question.
what type of fence it needs to be? For example, clarifying that it is not an electric fence, like an in-ground electric fence, or it needs to be chain link, or, you know, what the specific qualities of the fence should be. Because we're
Isn't that
We could
changing, we're
just,
looking to change it from 6 foot privacy fence to allowing something else.
well, really,
If I'm not mis-
all I'm asking in my motion is that we lower the height of the privacy fence from 6 foot to 4.5 foot. And
Okay.
then, that's all I'm asking. And then as far as accommodation for them to be able to see the children, whether that's a 4.5 foot specifically made chain link fence or that's a planked privacy fence, I think that can fall into the purview of animal control and their enforcement.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
And also, it's my understanding, at least in the copy I have, that on a dangerous order, it actually has a note that says an electric fence is not an acceptable form. I mean, just so we're clear on that. I
Okay.
mean, that could never have been an option to begin with. So back to Dr. Hemmer's motion. Do we have a second? I'm inclined to second his motion. All in favor? Okay, that was easy.
Do you need help with that,
Okay.
Autumn?
No, you're modifying
Okay.
6 foot to a 4.5 foot privacy fence. NG has to be muzzled. PD does not. Keep insurance in place, and the 10-year-olds cannot walk the dog.
Yes, that's the motion. Thank you.
Okay, so we have two things left that we need to get done. One is the minutes from last time, and then we need to discuss, if everybody had a chance to review it, the information that was sent to us by the county executive's office about possible
and
changes to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I wanted to know if this was a conversation about the potential changes, recommendations that you want to have with Claudia present. She couldn't be here today, but she's been the one working on it and doing all that stuff. So I don't know if there's been any modifications or changes to what was recommended.
Oh. Okay, I have no idea, and I guess I'm kind of at a loss at what to do at this point. I mean, at some point, I would think the commission needs to have a discussion, but I have yet to see our new administrator at one of our meetings. I don't know her, and I haven't gotten any additional information about this. So, Dr. Hemmer, you had.
Yeah, but we were planning to discuss the position paper from the budget office. Was that on our docket today? That particular document?
That's what I was talking about. It was the information from
Okay.
the county executive. It was like the position papers. My understanding was its purpose was to sort of give background to the proposal. There were two documents attached to that email. And so my understanding was the proposed reform is what we would really be discussing.
I was just asking. I didn't know if you wanted.
But if,
Right.
It's up to
I
you.
mean, I would certainly love to hear from the head of animal control, but I'm not sure what to do at this point because it was my fault that we didn't get to discuss it last month because I made the incorrect assumption that it had been sent out to everybody. So now we're already like 2 months into this. How does the rest of the commission feel? Are you comfortable discussing this without our administrator here, or would you like to hear from her to see if there's any changes? I think I'm good either way. Jackie?
Would personally like to meet her and hear her position on it. And I'd like to say that in my professional background with animal control and animal welfare, I have worked under all of those scenarios that were presented. in the papers. And, there are pros and cons to all of them, but we need to be more specific with our animal control division here in the county. And I would love to hear some input from her and others within animal control who may have opinions about it.
I would like to note she was at the last commission. Because we had voted to push it forward to this month, it's why she just wasn't promoted to panelist.
Oh, I didn't realize she was at the last.
Yeah.
Nicole is shaking her head, yes, because I didn't see. I guess I apologize. I'm used to usually at some point, or at least historically, the prior administrator, there always ended up being some reason we needed to ask a question, and I was just made aware that she was there. So
Well,
I
last
apologize.
month she was actually just brand new in the seat and she was on vacation. So she was attending as a courtesy. She, and could have spoke had we pressed the issue, but again, this month, she's been in the seat a lot longer and I think would have much more valuable input to the conversation.
Dr. Hemmer.
Yeah, I've read over this, and the two things that stuck out in my mind, one relates, I believe, to our operation, and the other doesn't. The biggest rub that I gleaned out of the position paper was animal control's hiring process through the police department, that it's relatively onerous. And I'm currently engaged as the animal control veterinarian right now until they get a replacement. So I'm out there on a weekly basis. And in talking to some of the staff there, I was rather impressed at how really thorough the hiring process is over at the county police, which is where this falls. So, but that doesn't really affect us. The thing that does affect us, that from what I read from the position paper, is communication up the chain of command. So everything that we decided today has to be signed off by the chief of police. And apparently that communication line is clogged up with a number of other just as important, if not more important, communications that go up to the chief of police. So that was really the only two things that I got out of the position paper that really seemed to affect us. Everything else they want to do in that position paper is more just structural or financial, in terms of where they want to place animal control within the county government, was my understanding of the position paper. And I don't know how to address the communication with the chain of command up, because that is just, we have no control over that, short of making us a independent judiciary body so that whatever we decide is decided, and that the only course of action the citizens have is to take this through the court system. That's the only way that I see cleaning up the line of communication with the chief of police. Now, do we have to have the chief of police sign off on us, or is a deputy chief okay? That I don't know. But that's what I gleaned out of this position paper. And in following up with Jackie's comment, and I'm sure she's definitely far more experienced in this than I am, it looks like a couple of different ways that they can set up animal control, and all of them have their pros and cons, and I don't know what would be best. But what affects us, I think, is just the line of communication and truly our autonomy within the police department to make decisions that stand and not need approval or rubber stamping. That's what I gleaned from it.
Okay. Do you guys want to keep, are we good with, does anybody else want, I guess, express an opinion? I definitely want to hear from animal control, but I want to hear from all you guys as well, because at some point they're going to ask us when legislation is finally proposed. So if you want to wait, we can revisit it too, if you want to wait and see if there's any updates.
I mean, that's what I think my main concern was, is potential updates or changes, or, things are constantly happening. And And I think it would be beneficial for Claudia to be able to speak on it for you guys, maybe get more clarity, because I can't clarify on some of it. But she'll definitely be here at the next one. She just couldn't be here today. So, which is November 4th.
Okay. Any of you at this point anticipate not being here on November 4th? All right. Then I'm fine with tabling this until November 4th. I'd like to hear from our new administrator as well. So with that being said, let's move on to the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from last time? Yep. Are there any further changes or corrections? Great.
There's
Can I get a
not.
motion to, I'm sorry?
I said no, there wasn't any changes.
Okay. Can I get a
I make
motion
a
to approve the
motion we
minutes?
accept. I make a motion we accept the minutes from the last meeting as written and presented.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? None opposed? Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I will see everybody next month.
Very good. You guys have a good month. Take care.
Thank you too. Hey, Dr. Hemmer, I was going to say thank you for stepping up and doing the veterinary work at the shelter. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Nope. Love it. It's fun. Thank you.